There we go. So I do a quick little introduction. We have three incredible
All right.
creators with us. There's Arno at his easel, which is awesome to see, and we have Empress Trash and Boozy. So three of our extremely talented, brilliant Gamma partner artists, but obviously not, just on Gamma. They've released work around the place and around the world and physicals and, worked on different projects and whatnot. So we'll definitely get them to introduce themselves as they each begin. But we just started off by having a little chat about how not losing that childishness, but in the positive connotation, and how important that is, and through art and leaning back into being a kid. So it's really I'm fascinated by it. I see my son drawing and creating, and it's something that I kind of wish that I did more as a child. It's funny, my mum is an artist, but I guess my brothers and I were just like so like sport heavy. We never really did a lot of creating, but everyone does their own little thing. But yeah, it's interesting stuff. And Boozy, you were saying you just had a child, so congrats, and you love looking at illustrations in books and derive a lot of inspiration from that. It's funny that you say that because the more that I've read books with my kids and you look at the illustrations, you realize how impactful and powerful and like almost like nostalgic they are. It's funny. Do any of them stand out for you, Boozy?
I mean, like Where the Wild Things Are is like number
Mm,
one, right? That's like the number one illustration. Like when it comes to children's book illustrations, it's number one. I mean, I remember being a kid, like going to the blank pages that are on like the front or the back of books, and like just using those to draw and convince her to be an artist herself. If she wants to be. I'm not, but I hope that she can create with me sometime. Um, but yeah, these children's books are something I've always been hugely fascinated by, and you can see a lot of that in my style now as I stick these colorful doodles, bold outline, a lot of playfulness, very whimsical, just not too serious. I have a serious side for my other, persona, you might, of Hoodie Black, but this is where my heart is. These fun little colorful doodles that just are. They don't have to mean anything. They don't have to have like a story behind them necessarily. I mean, a lot of them do, but most of them don't. Most of them are just doodles that I find myself falling in love with as I'm doodling, and then it just turns into something that I decide to mint or decide to do an edition of, or etc.
yeah, and it's funny in Empress, we talked about that the other day, which will come out soon, our podcast, how some of your stuff is more, let's say, serious or comes from a deeper, maybe darker place, but then you like to also just create the fun stuff, the different stuff, the childish stuff, the, leaning into like perhaps, nursery rhymes and kind of kid stories and whatnot as to keep it lighter. But yeah, is it a similar thing for you? Do you have anything that you reflect back on or any like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, definitely, because since I was drawing since I was a little kid, like I taught myself how to draw. And like I did the same. Like I would copy like comic books and like comic strips more. My mom wouldn't let me. My mom was weird about comic books. But like Peanuts, like Garfield, like I'm a huge Garfield fan still.
classic?
Like I share I'm Garfield memes all the time, and I've thought of doing like actually just like an Empress Trash Garfield series because I'm still obsessed with Garfield. But like, so I would like just like I would like look at them and then I would draw them because I always love the simplicity of like cartoons and comics and form, but at the same time there is a complexity to it. It's not just like simple. I don't
Mm,
know. And then like that led me when I was like an undergraduate, I studied Japanese art a ton because of like the like different like they're like the progenitors of like comic books essentially because like Edo, especially Edo period prints and then early paint like Japanese like calligraphical style paintings, they're very like proto comic books and like cartoons and all that stuff. So that really made me like gain a deep appreciation because I even know like I've learned how to paint much like how I see Arno is painting like very like rendered and layered, and I have like a painting I should like blur that I'm working on behind me like in the same style. I don't know how to unblur. It's just like blurred.
it's okay.
Um, but it's like so I learned how to paint in that finely rendered style. And like I've taken that forward and doing like a lot of layering when I'm doing digital work too. But there's still that like youthful appreciation for just creating a stroke and then letting that exist. And like there's a mastery that comes from that where people don't realize like it's not like really it's like a meditative thing. It's not this really thought out, okay, I'm gonna make it perfect. It's like, no, I'm gonna like practice this motion so much that it just becomes second nature for me. And a lot of that comes out in my damsels collection, which is like all hand drawn like nude figures of women. And because I've studied, like I've also done figure drawing so much, for me doing damsels is a study of doing the human body without actually looking at a human body. It's like I'm just doing it from my head mostly. Like sometimes I've used like reference photos I've taken. Like I went to a burlesque show and I took reference photos. But a lot of that is like kind of healing because it's like this gets into the heavy stuff, but
Yeah.
it's like I have a lot of sexual trauma from when I was a kid. And so by drawing the nude figures in a childlike style, it's actually very healing for me and helps me integrate like a whole bunch of stuff. So it's like both light, but it's also like the practice is very deep and healing and cathartic to that inner child, which is why I think it's valuable to hold on to those things personally that like we used to do and find joy in. And it's like, I mean, I've always had a pencil in my hand, and it's like even though I'm gonna show like my glitch art process more when we get to that, but it's still like I'm always gonna have a pencil in my hand, and that's where like all of it comes from. So,
Yeah.
and just yeah, that's the play right there.
Yeah, no, it's so
What Arno's
fascinating.
doing.
No, yeah, no. Well, look, speaking of that, no, fascinating. Thank you for that share. And yeah, I appreciate it. And you can obviously, thank you for being brave and always, putting it forward and explaining where it comes from. What we might do is obviously we just want to sort of have a single focus at a time. We can't sort of watch three people create at once or it'll be a little bit too hectic. And we want to give everyone each their specific time. Because Arno's already started, what we might do is we might start with Arno. So Empress, feel free to also to just pop your screen off because I'll do the same. And then I'll make Arno's for my recording. If you're in the audience, you can do this too. I'm pretty sure you can just click on Arno and it will enlarge him. And we'll do so each artist will have about 20-ish minutes. You don't have to finish. You don't have to, there's no pressure. It's just about sort of watching you create and having a chat with you whilst you do it. And then we'll get on to Boozy and to Empress. So Boozy and Empress, feel free to create whilst you're waiting, if that's what you'd like to do, or have a coffee or do whatever you need to do and hang around and we'll get to you guys next. So Arno, I'm gonna enlarge you and turn
Yo,
my
yo, yo.
yo, what's up? I'm gonna turn my video off so we can focus on you and I'm gonna enlarge you on my screen. There we are. How are you, Mr. Arno Carstens?
Cool, and you?
I'm
You
good.
guys are
I'm good. Is it nice?
you're on the roll, I gather.
There we go. So we can see that you've started, so talk to us. So you're doing is that like a watercolor on canvas?
No, it's oil.
Oil. It's an oil on
Yeah,
canvas. And
yeah,
you
and
that's your you like that's would you say that's primarily what you do when you're creating physically?
yes. So basically, I try to work in oil constantly because I find it's a constant learning curve. You know what I mean? Although I've been painting for a long time, for most of my life, but only for a couple of years. In the last couple of years, for me, it still feels like a constant vibe to it's painting with oil is a constant learning curve basically. So that's why it's a little bit of this and then also a bit of what do you call it, spray paint, charcoal, but mostly I want to get the oil thing going for it's a good way, it's a good therapy, it's a good thing to do.
And for the people in the audience who might not know you, Arno, do you want to just I know that it's a long story and people in fact you and I will need to do our podcast soon and people can certainly look you up, but do you want to give like a brief rundown on who is Arno Carstens
All right, so yeah, I've been a musician for since 1993, a professional musician. So I've been a musician for 30 years, and and so we did pretty well in the 90s. The band was called the Springbok Nude Girls. We still play every now and then, but not as much as we used to in the 90s, of course. And now I've also since then I've embarked on a solo music career that I've done very well. So that's what I do for a living, that and paint. And basically, I like anything with art. So did drama, did whatever, but mostly my love has been fine arts and music. Just working, anything to do with art, and just keep going. Um, got into the NFT thing. Really love it because it's a way for me to take my paintings and then digitize, take a photo of them or whatever, and then you work with it, and you almost animate the paintings to make the paintings come alive. So for me, that is an extra a joy to take your, to do that, to make your paintings and make them come alive. And then the ordinals thing, that was cool. I did about 7 of my paintings on the ordinals, and so now we're heading off, and hopefully soon we'll be bringing music. I've already sold 1 video and about 100 songs on NFTs. But the thing is, what we need to do is just bring more and more music to Parrot Radio and on this situation to try and, because I think that is a really cool thing for us musicians. We now can make money by selling it on music as NFTs. End of the day, NFT is worth more than the music that you're listening to. So this is not only taking art into a wonderful different direction, but it's also, I think it's going to maybe give a bit of a new life in the music industry as well.
And for the people in the audience, Arno's being very humble. If you just Google him, you'll see that he's toured with some of the biggest bands and also been probably like one of the most iconic rock stars in the 90s in all of South Africa, just for a little bit of context. But how, you and I have spoken before. You've been creating both, musically and then, with visual art, since kind of forever. We can see what you're doing now. How has this sort of, I guess, like style evolved? Like we can see it, you've got canvases all around you. You're constantly in the studio. We can see the artwork up on the wall behind you. You can have a look on Gamma and just have a look at what you've done. There's a lot of the female form as well. Yeah, like
Yeah.
talk about that.
Well, the female form for me is a vehicle to practice on. I just find the female body for me is the most beautiful thing, personally, and that's why it's just an elegant palette to work on, or canvas to work on the female form. So I use that a lot. But then I also like my serialism, you know what I mean? So I'll definitely, every now and then I get bored of doing this, and then I'll do something totally different. So that's the fun part about not being a professional painter, because you can jump around and do whatever you want, because it's all in the name of discovering new techniques and finding your own style within all the other styles in the world. So
Yeah,
be ignorant and a student for as long as you can.
I think that sounds like very sound advice. And you're a parent. Do you find that your son, is inspired by you, or do you try and drive that, or kind of like nurture slash foster that sort of creativity? I know that I've seen he's actually created some beautiful stuff. Do you think it flows down?
Um, you know, uh, uh, um, I think we all, as parents, would like to try and help them because we all project in a certain way, things like what we think they should be doing or where they should find their happiness. I'm just too glad if he finds any kind of happiness anyway. So, I mean, he does love art, and I think he's probably definitely picked it up because he sees in my household, it's I'm either writing music or I'm painting. So I think it's just a natural progression, maybe as well.
And you said before about taking your oils and digitizing them. That must, given the technology available and it's ever evolving, and then being able to bring it to this space and and sell it. Have you found that that's given you, like almost like a new lease on creativity personally?
Yes, that is exactly what I was saying early on because we are used to we sell our paintings and we sell the prints and whatever. So now being able to have different platforms on how we can sell our art and in different, a painting is not a painting anymore and a song is not a song anymore, whatever. You know what I mean? There's a whole new world now that we can kind of inhabit. And there's ways of thinking that we haven't even thought of yet that we can incorporate in live shows and in producing art in all its forms.
And I own, on Stacks, you released a GIF which was made up of, I can't remember, a number of layers, and each layer was, hand done by you. It's sort of like, I guess you might not have ever really thought about doing that with your oils. It's quite amazing to be able to bring them to life. Did you ever see them as alive when you were doing them prior to this?
Well, it's like music. You kind of imagine the video, So there is a story that you're working on, and most of the time you don't even know what you're really working on, what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So um, yeah, there is a little bit, but you just go with the flow and see wherever it takes you.
And I was going to ask that, as you're creating now, is it an evolving process, or do you have a bit of a vision of what you're doing?
Look, I'm just trying to get the basics right of the form of the goal, and then from there off, I don't know what the background color is going to be. I don't know what is going to happen. I try to not to overthink things too much because just see where the painting takes you. It might not even be a goal at the end of the day, but it's going to be. Um, you know what I'm saying? But like I say, the longer you are a student of life, the longer you can blame it on. You can blame your ignorance just on, but it's learning. It's learning.
It definitely is. Do you find that it's funny, we're on this kind of like ever evolving learning journey. I used to kind of use that expression back when I was a teacher of primary school students, but it doesn't stop, right? Like I know you're, very humble and very modest when you talk about your career, but you sound like you're very aware of the fact that you're constantly learning.
Well, if you're not going to be constantly learning, then especially in today's, there's so much stuff that you have to learn. And, for instance, music is, there's different ways to sell music now. And the best way to do it is to do it yourself. Record companies, we've always kind of been complaining about record companies. Well, now you can do it yourself and you don't have to complain anymore. And there is ways to do it. Um, so, yeah, I sort of lost my train of thought while I was busy. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, no, you certainly, you definitely did. And we can oil on canvas. I guess like your materials must be very important to you. You're kind of specific about what oils you buy, and I like this might be a little bit of an uneducated
Nah,
question. Are there different? Can you like are the canvases different qualities and whatnot? Like, is that sort of stuff important to you, or do you just kind of paint and do with whatever.
I trust that we get. I'm sure we get good canvases, and end of the day, I'm a bit of a messy guy. That's why I never finished my. I studied a graphic art, and it didn't go well for me because I'm too messy. So, as you could see, I don't. I actually don't even wash my stuff. I do it like once every 3 weeks, just because I think it can influence your. Some old dirt can always influence your painting a little bit. It's not a bad thing.
Interesting. Yeah, and
Yeah. The thing with oil is you can go over and over and over and over and over. So it's uh, all you need to do. All you need to have when you want to paint is you got to know what you really really hate. The thing is, while you're painting, you're totally confronted with your own what you call it, your own inabilities. You see the worst in your own stuff, and then little by little you fix it. So that is the beautiful journey about it, is that you end up surprising yourself while you're doing these things. Ooh,
and what about the
oh
challenge
shit.
of creating physically, like one, I guess, off brush stroke or something? It's not like creating digitally where you can, you know, undo. How do you deal with that mentally?
Um, well, you just leave it a little bit and then work on, and then you could come back to it and fix it because when it's a fuck up, so you can fix it whenever. It's gonna irritate you so much that you will come back and rectify the situation.
So it doesn't.
Oh,
So you let it almost be part of it. It doesn't bother you. I could imagine for some people, like some artists might be like, oh, I have to start again. You kind of let it evolve into what you're doing.
no, there's no starting again. It's like being married with children and getting a divorce. You're not really getting divorced. There's no starting again.
Interesting. And then you're very, very musical and very visual art orientated as well. How do you, I guess, how do you wake up and go, I'm going to create music or I'm going to create, yeah, an oil today? Like, does that change for you? And how does it?
I wake up and I always go like, oh, I'm so ready to get going, but I don't know what. And then there's so many things. The big thing is you've got to go sit down and write down all the stuff you need to do and then prioritize and do it. I'm obviously no good at that, but I know I should do that. We'll get there. But end of the day, also they say like, um, it doesn't mean that if you're busy that you're actually being productive. Sometimes you just got to lie down a bit or go for a run, so you can get a bit of perspective,
I think,
especially when it comes to writing. Or that's no good.
yeah, I do think that that's
One
really
thing that is cool, what you can do now is you can go sit on your computer and you can work these colors out before you even paint. But I'm too lazy for that.
It seems like you have a really good awareness of your, like, so-called strengths and weaknesses and ability to kind of like rectify problems, though. Do you think that that's come with experience?
Yes, that comes with experience. You could say that. No, you know what is possible. You know what you can fix. And but everything is possible. You must just take your time and don't get rattled, like that.
And I always love
Um,
asking this question. How do you know when you're done? Like the painting that's up on the wall behind you, that woman with the pinks and the purples. and the indigo, like the one that's on the wall. Like when you were doing that, how did you know you were done at the end? Like, do you go, yeah, I'm finished now? Like it feels like it could keep going forever until you're like, it feels complete for you.
I must say, with bigger paintings, I do tend to keep painting while they're still, even when they're supposed to be finished, I will keep painting them. Um, because I like this idea of, Van Gogh kept painting he kept going on his stuff. Uh, he didn't sell any of his paintings. And then I think on his deathbed, there was a couple of paintings on the side, and people took some stuff. Some friends took some stuff, and then only I think 30 years later, he sold his first uh, paintings for a couple of mil or whatever. But so I like oh yeah, and he was painting while he was on his deathbed in his madhouse and wherever he worked. He kept painting over his paintings. Like so, the more you paint, the more character painting probably gets. Shit.
And do you derive a lot of
But
enjoyment?
anyway,
Do you derive a lot of enjoyment from it, from the process?
yes, because you really don't. It's touch here, touch there, and you never know what's kind of going to happen.
For sure. I know I would love to keep
Yeah.
watching and chatting with you, but we do need to move along. So what we normally do when we do this is we'll get you to just pop your screen off, but feel free to keep creating because at the end, for the people who are here, and obviously we record it, so, anyone who watches can sort of see where you got to, in the next kind of 40, 50 minutes if you're okay and cool with that.
I like it.
All right.
I like it a lot.
Awesome. So I'll get
So
you to,
I'll be listening.
of course.
I'll be listening, and I'll catch you tips from all the other artists.
That
Thank you
is,
for letting me be with you guys.
no, it's an absolute pleasure. As always, I'm going to turn my screen on just so I can. As always, I know it's a pleasure to see you and, to watch you and to chat with you. And I always find it very inspiring. I'm a big fan and also a friend. So we will see where you are at the end. Who's going to go next? Do it, Boozy or Empress? Do one of you want to nominate to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next if that's okay.
Yeah,
I
go
got
for
the
it.
sleeping baby right
Oh yeah, we
and
don't want
before she
to.
wakes up.
We don't want to wake her up. Nothing. You don't wake up a sleeping baby. That's for sure. So yeah, Boozy, let's do it. Have you figured out that you can how we can share your screen?
Yeah, I guess I can just probably share like for Procreate. And real quick, Arno, man, like just always good to see you working in your studio. We go way back from the old OG Stacks days, and like your studio is beautiful. Like it's absolutely beautiful, and like seeing you paint, seeing your studio makes me miss physical painting so much. Like I'm looking at 2 canvases on my side right now. I'm like tempted to get back to it.
Yeah, man, it's so much fun. Go for it.
I completely
All right, I'm
agree.
trying. I never shared my screen here on Discord. So let me know what you see. Do you see like a blank
We
white thing?
we have it. We've got it. You have nailed
Cool.
it.
Like you see this?
Hi.
You see this?
We've
Okay,
got
cool.
hi.
Cool.
I love it. Yeah, no,
All right,
I
cool.
isn't it so right? Like what I found just like watching Arno putting those strokes on the canvas meditative. I could only imagine what it's like for him actually doing it. So yeah, completely right. Man, that studio I would love to sit in that studio and have a cup of coffee and watch him create all day for sure. Yeah, so Boozy, I'm excited for this because I've known you again since what, like 2021, so it feels like kind of forever now, but I think that the for the a lot of people got to know you through the Pizza Ninjas. I think in the greater Bitcoin audience, shall we say? And you put out that video. Trevor released that video of you explaining your creative process a little bit right at the end on Mintout. So I think that was the first time that I'd actually sort of seen you create. I think I've always seen the finished product, so I'm excited for this. So yeah, talk us through what you do. You're using Procreate. You've chosen the orange. What, I guess like there's no pressure. You can kind of create whatever you want now. That this is just kind of like free boozy time. But yeah, what do you do? Like where's your head at when you're about to start creating something?
Well, so like I'm like in this case, I'm gonna do something just super simple. Like I'm gonna do like I don't know, a random derivative of like bear market buddies from stacks, because that's like, that was super easy. The style is very clean, very neat. Like there's not a lot of complexity to it. It's very flat in color, so it's generally pretty quick to like put them together. So I could probably actually knock one out in 15, 20 minutes. Watching Arno though, like watching Arno do his thing, it reminds me like you can't make mistakes. Like watching his little like oopses, and he's fixing it with his oil and whatnot. You can't do that like with painting. I mean, you can do that, but it's a different thing. Like with digital, like you can just make these mistakes and you can just undo. You can just fix it. It's like it's such a different world, and I've learned so much more about my process because I can make mistakes now. I can make errors. I can create a lot more content because there's not a lot of fixing to be done, if there is a mistake. And that's like the power of digital, like to me, and I'm probably going to stumble my words a lot because I actually have never like talked while drawing before. So I'm going to let you talk a little bit, maybe ask me questions.
Totally. Look, and I actually have said this before, and it can be a challenge. I really appreciate anyone and any of the creators who say yes when I invite you to do this, because I think there's certainly, creating live and having to chat during might not be everyone's cup of tea. So first and foremost, thank you very much to each of you for even just taking up this challenge. It might come more naturally to some than others, and we really appreciate it, and I'm sure the audience appreciates it, and anyone who watches the recording afterwards. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. So I guess you've said that you used to create physically as well, or you'd love to sort of continue it, but there must be a joy in the new, let's say, like more modern digital way of creating that does allow mistakes and the ability to edit things. It must be like a little bit freeing in that regard.
Yeah, it is because like I mean, look how like I'm just like I can move shapes. You know what I mean? You can move shapes around. You can just scale and stuff. Like you can't do that with painting. And when I did paint, that was my primary like source of creating art. A lot of the time, I would paint in the same style, like the same bold black lines, and try to make the lines as straight and smooth as possible. And that was challenging. It's hard to like keep your hand that steady when you're in this kind of style. But with digitally, you have these like tools that like kind of back you up. I mean, look how like smooth you can make your like brushes. A lot of the brushes I use are like I've worked with them so long, they're like customized now. Like I've given them like the attributes. Like Procreate gives you like attributes in your brushes, and you can just make them work for you. And that's something that you don't really get when you're painting physically or working physically. You're at the mercy of physical medium, and if you make a mistake, you have to either correct that mistake, own that mistake. I mean, a lot of the time, it's kind of cool if you just kind of like lean into that mistake a little bit. Maybe just make it part of the painting or part of the piece, and just run with it. But with digital, you got so much freedom. There's so many tools and there's so much you can do that just makes it so much easier. But again, the benefit of that is you can just create that much more content. You can be that much more free, that much more creative, that much more, I guess, risky.
Yeah, and it's interesting, just watching you. Yeah, I guess that no, to comment on that risk taking must be like fun and enjoyable, and you can do a bit, fix a bit, edit it, and it looks like as you said, you can zoom in and really kind of like get these smooth, unique kind of lines. Have you found that through the amount of creating that you have done, you've become quite prolific in a way that you've really kind of like found ways to use the program that help you to nail what you need to do, and also like I guess like significantly improved at it?
Yeah, you get a lot faster. You get a lot more comfortable. You use the same tools, the same brushes, over and over and over again. You just get familiar with them, and it just gets that much easier to create and to kind of move into a flow. And you kind of almost like for me anyway, like when I'm doing like Ninja Lurks is a great example of this. You kind of like black out. You know, you kind of like just get into a zone and you just kind of like grind at it, and before you know it, you have a large amount of content. And that's kind of how I've always worked. I kind of just like do a lot, just make as much content as I can, and then I kind of go through that content and kind of cherry pick what I like. I mean, I have a folder of so much work that is just like, in my opinion, is just garbage. You know, I like didn't really like it. I just created it and kind of just like, you know, you just do. That's the thing about digital. You just do things. If it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And you know, if it doesn't, you just kind of move on, and that's fine. But that's the power to me of like digital art, is you can just kind of like free form, go ham, go crazy, have a little bit of fun, and just see what happens with the results.
And so you use the word fun. Oh, by the way, if anyone in the audience wants to ask, I forgot to mention this during Arno, but if anyone wants to ask Boozy anything, pop it in the general chat, and then I can relay it on. But yeah, you mentioned the word fun. Do you find it fun, or do you find it like work, or does it depend?
It depends. Man, I do kind of miss like having the fun and just doing stuff because I want to do this stuff and just doing it for the sake of doing it. When you work on these large projects, like, again, like using Ninja Lurks as an example, like it does kind of start to feel like work, because you have time constraints, you have rules, you have boundaries, you have things that can and cannot be included, so you have to, you kind of working. You're working, and there's a monetary aspect behind it, of course. So you're working, and it does lose a bit of its like fun that way. And I try my best to carve out time these days to just doodle about and just mess around and just experiment a little bit. And that's why I was so into, like, as you know, Brett, the hoodie black thing that I've created, the secondary persona from counterfeit culture, because I was allowed to experiment there, because it was just kind of do whatever I want. I played with an entirely different style, was very glitch art based, a lot of animations and whatnot, using brushes that I normally wouldn't love. And that's the thing too, like I enjoy the process of making Procreate brushes. Like this is the benefit about this tool, is you have all these brush options. You can download brushes, you can make your own custom brushes from the ground up. So there's so many resources and tools that allow flexibility, and it's just fun. Like there's a lot of technical fun with an app like Procreate. And for anyone that doesn't know Procreate, it's probably like a godsend of an app. It's like $10, and like 90% of the artists in NFT space and digital space use Procreate. It's like the most impressive tool that has ever been existed, in my opinion. So shout out to the creators of Procreate.
Yeah, interesting. Just like on a quick side note about Procreate, I assume, given it's a paid app, do they update and upgrade things? Like are there new things that you can do and use as the app, I guess, has evolved?
Yeah, they do updates all the time. I mean, the updates aren't like crazy. There's not a lot going on. They just dropped like another app that was intended to be for like animations and whatnot.
Actually, I also work on Procreate. It's a fantastic app, and then also we also downloaded that new one that is more of the animation vibe, right?
Yeah, that's Procreate Dreams. I you know what? I have it downloaded. I downloaded it when it came out, which is back in like November or something like that. And I've been honestly like afraid to open it, because I know that if I open that app, I'm just not gonna stop. I'm gonna be distracted from all my other like things that I have to get done.
Fantastic, a lot of fun. Yeah?
It is. Like this, I'm telling you, like these tools these days, even things like Photoshop, like just something as simple as Photoshop is just absolutely incredible. And stuff like I've been up on art, just because in my physical art days, I did find myself frustrated, with the traditional art world, and it was a struggle to make money. And you find yourself spending so much time, creating art, so much time, like in a studio, so much time trying to market yourself, and it gets discouraging after a while if you're not successful and you're not actually like making some money. And and then like I mentioned, you got family members that are like, you can't do this for a living, you can't do this for work, you can't, and it becomes discouraging. But now with the digital tools and NFTs and all that, it's a lot easier to make your waves in this space. A lot easier to actually, be successful. So again, shout out to all the digital tools. Like I really do miss the physical paintings. I really do miss the just putting my hands, on my paint. But at the same time, it's like it's hard to ever want to put these tools down because it's done so much for me.
Yeah, amazing.
Totally. And so, Boozy, it's really fun watching you create this. This like I you sort of hate to I really really hate to pigeonhole like an artist, but this feels sort of like quintessentially like a Boozy piece of art. Do you like where did this style come from? You said you've always loved cartoons. I can see almost like old like Popeye or like I don't know. Yeah, tell us about where these characters or where I guess were derived from or started or where you kind of fell in love with creating these fun little guys and girls and whoever else and animals and whatnot.
But yeah, you kind of said it too. Like I grew up like loving animations, loving cartoons, loving specifically 30 styles cartoons, like those like rubber hose like characters, like Popeye and
Mm.
old Mickey Mouse, Betty Boop, things like that. Like those cartoons, which is like these eyes. Like I
Yeah.
love these like 30 eyes. Like it's always been something that's like drawn to me. I've always appreciated this style, and it's just the right amount of whimsical, the right amount of fun. It's not too serious, and at the same time, it's just classic.
I do. I would say classic is a really apt adjective for describing it. And have you ever kind of drawn a character, and I know that you've drawn a lot of characters, but really fell in love with one or two sort of in particular? Do you ever feel like a certain affection towards just, you create someone and go, wow, I actually love this one a lot?
Yeah, yeah, all the time, which is why like from working with me since the old Stack days, I have a huge love for PFPs, and I know PFPs kind of like a they kind of have a dark narrative to them because of what's tied to them, which is often a monetary aspect. It's often people gambling them, flipping them. But I've always loved the PFP because I always loved, that everyone is relatable to somebody. Like this one right here, someone could see this and be like, they might feel like that looks like them, or they might feel like they connect with this character in some way, and you then use it as your own personal branding, whether it be on Twitter, X, whatever they're calling it these days, Discord. I mean, like for example, even like the Ninja Alerts PFP, like the one I have now, I've become obsessed with because of the color palette, which is another thing. I've become obsessed with this color, if you can't tell. But just when I see my little Ninja Alerts PFP pop up on my Apple TV when I log into Apple, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm home. This is my device. Like this is I'm connected to this in some way, shape, or form. So I love the power of the PFP. So it's like to answer your question, like I'm connected to all of them. I love all of them. In a perfect world, I would just hoard them all, keep them for myself, and rotate PFPs every day. But the Dead Bird app doesn't allow you to do that anymore.
Yeah, I love that. I think that was really well answered, and I agree with you. I think if you remove the financial vehicle aspect from PFPs, the digital identity and the way in which you can relate to a character and feel represented either individually or just feel connected to a community because everybody has a certain affinity to them, beyond financial reasons because you love the art and you love the artist and you love like what it represents. I think that they are very powerful. I've actually written an article about them. They're on our blog site, for anyone, so blog.gamma.io. But naturally I mentioned like yes, they're tradable, but I agree with you. I think PFPs I love PFPs for a different reason. It's for kind of like what I said. I think that in this age in which we live, people have digital identities, or it allows them, perhaps to to have like an online persona that allows that kind of escape, or there's so many more kind of like deep psychological reasons why I think that they're very powerful. And I just like on a personal note, like my son, that having an avatar and choosing something that represents him on through different games or through Pokemon or whatever is is very, it's like supernatural. It's like very natural to him. So it's not going to be, it's more than just like, oh, I've got a rare one, I might be able to sell it. I think that it's always important to kind of like reflect on that if you're ever feeling like everything about this space is like purely about, obviously we need to make money. Artists, this is your job, you want to make money and whatnot, but like there's more to it.
Yeah, and like even I've said this before in other spaces when this is back when like there was a narrative at one point when like the PFP was dead. I think that's because at that time, like, NFTs in general were kind of dead. The market was in a really bad downturn with the peak of the bear market. But, I still work in like a corporate environment as my day job. And, I use like LinkedIn quite a bit. LinkedIn is something I actually, have to use a lot. And I see people using like their PFPs on LinkedIn in a professional environment. Like I saw someone had a Bored Ape, and they were like some kind of high level executive for a company, and they had their Bored Ape as like their LinkedIn profile picture, and that kind of hit me like, PFPs aren't going anywhere. Like this is the concept of a profile picture is not going anywhere. The new concept of a profile picture might be that we're now using, monkey JPEGs to kind of define who we are, but the profile picture itself will never go anywhere. And I think now it's becoming acceptable to use, dumb doodles like this as your profile on LinkedIn or anything.
This guy's really resonating with me. I don't know what it is, but I love it. So what we're going to do, we'll similarly like we did with Arno, I'll just get you to pop your screen off and feel free to sort of, put the finishing touches and keep doing it as you wish, and we will jump across to Empress, and then we'll do a quick kind of little finish off across the board, to see where you guys were at. But Empress Trash, I'm looking forward to this. As you know, I'm
Ah.
a big fan of what you do. I collect you. Some of it's really resonated with me on a very deep level, but I also just like aesthetically really like it. So yeah, I can't wait to watch you create now. So yeah, I don't know. Are you going to be sharing your screen? And I'll click onto
Yeah.
that. There we go. It's
Um,
coming up. There we go.
so
Got it.
can you hear me? Just
We
checking.
can. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. No, so listening to all that is kind of surreal because like when I started doing crypto art a few years ago, like 3 years ago, the first thing I did was like taking my oil paintings and then glitching them, and that's like my first stuff on like OpenSea. And then I got an iPad not long after that, and then I was doing Procreate a ton. And then I started getting into AI. And so it's kind of interesting to me because it's kind of like those like Boozy and Arno are kind of like like it's like progressions like where I'm at now. Um so I've been sitting here just like, oh my gosh, this is really weird. Um, so overall, like what I do, like I multitask a ton when I'm creating, because I'm using AI a lot. I started using AI, so just to kind of get back into that, about 2 years ago now, and I started learning from Pers Beats, who is super dope. And if you ever want to learn anything about AI, like he managed to teach me and my baby brain, and he's really good at teaching. And he has like a whole bunch of videos, but he's also a friend of mine, so I get like hands-on help from him. But I started an AI with a Wombo app actually, and then I was like one of the early Mid-Journey people. And while we've been talking, I haven't had a chance to like look at the Mid-Journey web UI yet, so I was like playing around with that, thinking about how like a lot of my processes anymore are like a little bit more trying to just understand like technology that is like new and open source, and like just like how I can leverage it and like integrate it into like my like constantly massive katamari of a workflow that's been happening. So yeah, I've just been like playing around in Midjourney, but I did set up because my process is essentially like I wanted to like talk about like how I make like my glitch art, like my like what everyone like really really knows me for, because a lot of people ask me and I've never really done like an intense like okay, this is how I do it. But like trying to like I'm so non-linear in how I do everything. So like I'll be generating stuff in AI, like I'll be in bed working in Midjourney as I'm falling asleep, or like when I'm like traveling or just like on the toilet or like if I'm like in a meeting and I'm just like not I'm half listening, and I'll just be like in Midjourney, and I view Midjourney as almost my sketchbook anymore. So I just kind of scroll through it where it's like here's some weird monsters. I was just having fun. I made like I was thinking about biblically accurate Pokemon and monsters. So it's like what's like um oops, it paused the preview. Okay. Oh no. Is it still pausing?
It's paused. Yeah, it's paused on my end. We can see.
I don't know why it's, I think because I'm like,
Oh, there we go.
okay,
We're
is it
we're
on
back.
pause?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. If I click in Midjourney, it like pauses it. It's really weird. Okay. So I go through it and I'm just like, this is like, I'm just talking essentially to Midjourney.
Yeah,
Like, and
go
it's
for it.
like kind of like a half journal. Like it's, well, it's like when I'm working in Midjourney, it's like half journal, half like, trying to make cool stuff. And I'm just like exploring like what it thinks about when I'm like saying different things. So, and then when I like something, I take it and I keep glitching the stream.
It's okay.
Okay,
No, we're good.
there we go.
Yeah.
Um, and I take it and I put it in through Stable Diffusion. So like I download the image. Every time I click, it does it. Okay, I download the image and like here, there we go. Of course, the glitch artist is like breaking Discord. I love it. Um, so I just like download the image. Sometimes I'll take it into before I go into Stable Diffusion. Sometimes I'll take it into Procreate, and like touch things up, or Photoshop, or like I'll just do like I'll like work on it to like get it where it's like a base image that I really, 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 really like. And then I take it into a locally installed Stable Diffusion that I have, which I'll pull that up here. Um, Essentially, Pers is the one who set me up with this, and it's very technical. And I'm going to be like transitioning to other stuff. But you can do image to image in here. So I did like an example of this one where it's like you take the base image, but then you can make like slight variations of it, where it, oh, it's going to keep doing that. But so I won't click in it. Essentially, I'm trying to generate a bunch of frames of a GIF in here that are just slight variations on each frame of the image that I'm doing. And then I could take all of those and compile them. Okay. So here's like all the, I'll show you this. Okay, here's all like the Stable Diffusion outputs that I have to, okay, that come out. And so each of these is like a slight variation on that same base image. And then I take all of those and I compile them in a GIF. And I use GIMP for that, where it's just like I open each one as a layer and then I export it as a GIF. Generally, I'm like doing about like not too fast but not too slow either, because like in frame rate aspect, because I'm then take this GIF that I've made. Hold on.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yeah. So this is after I've done all of like the pre-work of like, and so that's why I say like this is like I did all this because it's like literally like I do this over the span of like weeks or days or even months because it's like I'm like constantly it's like a constant brainstorming and back and forth and with everything that I'm doing to get a base image before I even bring it into like be made like a GIF like this. So then this is where like I start actually having fun. Like all of that stuff to me is like that's kind of like it's fun, but it's also like it's very like system, it's very like okay, I'm going through, I'm working these systems. Like I have creative control, but it's not where it's like I'm like breaking everything. Photomosh is where I break everything, and that's what I love to work in. And so, and I really, let me just switch what is being shared to just Photomosh so it will stop doing this like clicky thing. Because it's like every time I click, it's like being weird. Okay. So Photomosh is like everything to me. And to get into like why I use Photomosh, I discovered it through Rob Ness and like the trash art movement of like originally they like were doing like originally Rob got kicked off of Super Rare, that whole story for minting a toter where it's essentially he right click saved an image off of the internet of a trash can and then he ran it through Photomosh and put it on Super Rare. Um and everyone was like, well, that's just too low effort. That's not really art. And he was like, no, it's art. And a lot of people were like, no, it's still art. Like the effort doesn't equate like how good the art is. Like, which is something that I agree with in a lot of my ethos of things, especially when it comes to like my drawings and stuff, because I like to do very like quick, minimalist, gritty drawings. But when I heard all that, I was like, you know what? Like, I bet you this program is not just like a toy. Like, I bet you there's some really cool stuff that you can do with it, and I'm gonna make art that's so crazy that people don't even like know that it's like it's this app that they just like dismiss as like not a good app. And so that is why I use Photomosh. Oh, and it's still doing it. So I'm opening a GIF in it now, and so a lot of the way Photomosh is structured, so Arno may love this, is I don't know if you do any electronic stuff, but it's kind of like a synth where it's like you have all of these like different effects, and the way you layered the effects, they interact with each other differently. So like it can like you can get like there's infinite possibilities for like what you're able to do in it. And so and it keeps doing,
Yeah, it's
you know,
not
it's
loading up.
clicking and I don't know how. Can you see it now?
We can't just yet, but that's okay. It'll come. But keep talking to it anyway. Do you know what? It brings up an interesting.
Yeah.
It does bring up an interesting question. I think that all of this tech and all of these products
Yeah.
are super useful and they allow you to create. And I think that like art is really
Yeah.
perceptive, and so it's kind of up to the to the collector and or to the viewer. Saying what is art and what isn't art is kind of a bit ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
I can't remember which artist it was. It's like this is like a famous story. They like created something extremely quickly and it sold for a lot. And they said, "Oh, but you did that in 15 seconds or something." This is just I can't. And then they were like, "Yeah, but it was all of the years of
Mm.
experience that allowed me to be able to do that." I can't remember who I'm talking about, but it's like a famous story. But yeah, it's like what you're saying, and I think that it does pose a very interesting question as we move into like this digital age. And I know that you use these products and you use them extremely well, just
Yeah.
like watching Boozy use Procreate.
Yeah, and a lot of it is, I mean, like, so what I end up doing, what I would be doing right now, but every time I click, it like cuts this, like cuts you being able to even see what I'm doing. Um, I just like, so I do all that like setup. So then when I'm in when I'm in Photoshop or Photomosh here, sorry, like all these programs in my head, I literally just I get stoned as fuck and I put on music and I just vibe with the art, playing with all the different effects to see like how they interact with each other, how like what different visuals I can get, and like when I strike, like you can save these like presets in it, so when I strike on something where I'm like, oh hell yeah, like this is hitting, then I save it, and then I'm able to like reproduce that effect. Like I still have to go in and fine tune it because each work is different in how it's going to interact with the effects that are being put down. But like overall, like a lot of it is like I'm just thinking about when I'm at a rave and like what would like make me feel really good when I'm at a rave. But at the same time, like I'm also like making work that is like sometimes really deep and scary. So it's like it's both. But yeah, this is like a lot of what I do is just sitting and staring at loops and listening to music and being stoned and playing with knobs right here.
Fair enough. And I think
And change like yeah,
no, I was gonna say I
yeah.
think like a lot of again like a lot of art would be through like trial and error and
Yeah, it is.
experimenting. It really,
It
you know,
is.
like to make like a science link, it would be like a lot of experimenting. Maybe unshare this, like stop the screen share and then try it again just to see if that helps. I'm not sure if it will or not.
Okay.
Um, let's.
That's what's
I
making
was
me
seeing it, by the
sad.
way. I saw the beautiful animation
Oh,
there.
you could see it. I couldn't see it on my end,
Yeah.
and sadly, my end is the one that's recording it. So, um,
Oh no. Can you see
it
it
could be
now?
me. Boozy can. Oh, we've got
Yeah.
it. Yes, she's back.
Okay. I didn't
Wow,
know you couldn't see it.
love it.
Sorry. I could see it on my end.
Now we can. I'm
So
That's
sorry.
cool.
So yeah, I like I still like I will okay, I keep saying I'm gonna make a tutorial. I will make like a full blown good ass tutorial for people who keep asking for that. But it's like essentially this is like that is my process in a nutshell. And like it like seems like it can come together really quickly when I need to like crank something out really fast, especially like sometimes I get like last minute things and I'm like, and they're like, oh, we want this visual or we want like art to put up here and we want something new. And then it's like, it's nice because my tech process is so streamlined. I'm confident enough in my knowledge of the technology. I can just be like, boom, here's something. But at the same time, I'm always like the always wanting to learn. Like I'm always trying to learn new programs and new things to integrate it in to make art that is interesting and complex. And really like I view it as like digital mixed media. Because it's just like I don't want to be pigeonholed in one style or one thing, but then I just keep coming back to photo mosh because it's like for me it's like where my like joy is and just creating and like vibing. But what's also awesome is like when I'm doing the AI stuff, like where it's just like generating, I can like open Procreate on my iPad and then I'll just be like sitting and drawing while like the AI is like just like generating a bunch of stuff and doing whatever. So like I can still like get like my paint like I still like it's so great because it's like I can do like all these different things at once and then I feel like I'm like even more in creative mode because then it's like okay, let that do its thing, let that render, and then like I'll come back once I'm done wanting to paint for a while. So yeah,
And
I don't know.
no,
I
no,
think it's gonna
certainly, and it's funny. So people will know what I'm talking about when they see our podcast come out. But looking at this girl, we talk so much about the feminine form and color, and also the
yeah.
moon. So it's funny seeing all three things in.
Yeah.
It's funny seeing all three things in this artwork.
That's
Do you want to touch on them briefly for, you know, the people in the audience and for the people who watch this recording afterwards?
yeah, I mean I just love all three and like the moon to me is connected. I mean it's so inherently connected to femininity. Because I mean women's bodies are like literally change every month throughout the course of the month. Like while male bodies like they have a year cycle, women have the monthly and it's all linked to the moon. And then men are like linked to the sun, like very quite literally on a biological level. This isn't just mysticism, it's also mysticism too and like witchcraft. But so there's that like deep connection as a woman. Like I'm always exploring my femininity And like I gravitate towards creating women because to me it's like trying to like connect with that part of myself. And I also like I think women are beautiful too, but it's like more so from like a lot of like the trauma that I've had. Like and like said in our interview before, it's like I'm very disconnected from my body. So it's like when I'm creating women, I'm like trying to connect to a part of myself that I may be disconnected, or find beauty in something that like I may be disconnected from, or find shame in normally. Um, so that is why those themes come up all the time, because it's like I am trying to connect to like my higher self and also something bigger than me, because I'm a very, very deeply spiritual person. Um, like, and it pervades in like everything that I do. So, yeah. And it's like, it's also a comfort because it's just like, well, I don't know what to make. It's like, we'll make some hot chicks with moons. Like everyone loves hot chicks and mooning, like on like a very like surface level. But for me, it's like, it does come from like a deeper place. And so, yeah, that is that.
No, I really appreciate it. And it's been again a pleasure to see
Yeah.
three such different processes and styles, but also hearing that cohesion between what you each do and what you've each kind of played with and feel about the space. So an absolute pleasure. Might get Arno, you can turn your camera back on, Boozy, same, and we can have a look at, I guess like where they ended up and start to wrap it up and do a bit of a
Yeah.
thank you. But Empress, yeah, always love chatting with you, love that deep dive. Really cool to see part of that process. And like you said, you're going to put out a tutorial one day. I think that everyone will be very
Yeah.
grateful for it because, your style is.
Well, I'm gonna talk to Photomosh and get them to put like my halftone effect as like one of their standard presets. I'm gonna ask them to, because I would talk to like the developers of it, and like people have requested that, and I'm like, well, yeah, why not? I could like make it part of it. So, but I still want to put a tutorial up because like I think because too, it's like it's also just like me being stoned for like hours vibing. Like it's hard to like,
No,
be like in a short 20-minute
it
thing. Like
is.
this is what I do. So
No, of
yeah,
course.
thank you.
No, and I acknowledge that and appreciate that. Arno, this might be coming from my end because you're not. I can't see you. Can you see him, Empress?
Yeah, I can see him. I can't see you
Oh,
though.
well, my video is off. I can turn it on, but I feel like it. There, I am here. Hello.
Oh,
Arno, I can't see you. Do you want to
oh,
maybe?
beautiful.
Do you want to share? Do you want to maybe turn your video off and on again?
Perfect,
It could
man.
be. We always joke. We joke at Gamma that it's the Australian internet, and that it's the kangaroos are, affecting my service. But I can't see you, and I like to see
Okay.
you. I like to see your art.
Okay,
Good
I'm gonna
looking
turn
man
it
and good looking
off.
art.
Now I'm gonna turn it on again. You still can't see
I
me.
can only see three
Brett,
dots loading.
Your PFP literally
Yeah,
says underneath it, unstable internet connection.
That's me.
that's
Um,
it.
well, look, sometimes you just have to deal with these things. Maybe I'll get you guys to share on Twitter or something what you did create. So maybe it's best to that's a sign to wrap up here. But look, I've got a lot out of it. It's an absolute pleasure chatting with creators, as you know at Gamma. Creator first, art and artist first, and we love these sessions. We're very appreciative of anyone who turned up to come and have a listen and have a watch. We'll put this out on our on our YouTube for anyone who wants to watch afterwards. So Empress Trash, Boozy, and Arno, keep doing what you do. We love it. We can't do what we do without you. Artists are the backbone of the space, and thank you so much for your time.
Fantastic. And thank you very much. And it's lovely to meet you, Empress. I love your way of working and the stuff you're doing. And I'd love to see a tutorial on that because, like you say,
Hmm.
I'm very you know what I mean. You've been through all these things that we've been doing, so it'd be cool to check out how you do what you do.
Yeah,
So
so
awesome! Thank you very much.
I'll make photo mosh tutorials 'cause that's like where I'm the I've become weirdly the expert. But honestly, for AI, like go like Purse Beats 100%. Like he's such a good friend of mine, but he's like anything AI you want to learn, like he's gonna be able to teach you way better than I ever will be. But
I
photo
actually want to
mod
make
stuff,
music videos on. I actually want to use it to make music videos as
yeah.
well.
Well, Photomosh has it where you can like input. So, Vampy, who's in the audience here, VLDS, he does it where you can like input MIDI and stuff into Photomosh, and then so the effects. I don't understand that part. VLDS does though, but so
Maybe
there, yeah,
I think
there's
I
way.
sort of
Because Photomosh is kind of designed for like video DJing, like VJing. So it's just like it does have that sync with music. I just don't know that part as well because I don't make music yet. I used to a long time ago, just not now.
Empress, you'll have to invite Arno
Mhm.
into your group of artists so he can connect with all of these people.
Yeah, I can.
And I think
I can.
I love
Yeah, I
that.
have a group chat I can add you to.
I love that because I think artists seeing these artist communities and artists can connect and teach each other and really, learn and support each other in the space. That's another really powerful thing about the space is that it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can learn from each other. So it's really cool to see.
Fantastic.
All right, and Boozy,
I just thought
lovely to see you as well. And yeah, thank you to those who hung out for the whole time, and thank you to those who popped in and out. Oh, I can see you, Arno. There you go. But yeah, love to you all, and have a lovely rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, whatever the time is around the world, and we will do this again next month. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, great to see you all.
Peace.
Thank you.